So, congratulations for the victory yesterday. My question is about, because this, after the Spring Revolution, we've seen that in Armenia, there's been a lot of things going on. For example, in Gyumri, there's a statue portraying you starting the march. We've been some children in schools representing the revolution, and the protagonist of this theater, like he's disguised as you wearing your outfit during the revolution. We've seen some coins portraying you as the Caesar of Armenia. We've seen portraits of you disguised even as Jesus or the Pope. With 2 rap songs, 1 Despacito song, calling you a hero. Do you think Despacito? I saw it on Facebook because I quite particularly to find, yes.
You know, I'm not aware of everything.
That's where I'm trying to go to. As your government has not had any official policy into all of these phenomena, discussing, there was another colleague there calling you that the people call you in Gyumri as a king. What do you think that impacts on the revolution, on your figure as a leader, and do you think that has to be tackled somehow, or can this put in danger the democratic revolution you say you want to do in Armenia?
No. It can't put in danger democratic values of our revolution, because you know, I know that there are some merchandises that are being sold in markets with my face, etc., and I don't mind, because if my face will, for example, help some people to overcome their poverty, for example, I'm happy for that. But there is no any other political meaning for that, because I don't know what to do. To forbid to wear T-shirts with my face, etc., because I'm not aware, and it isn't organized thing, and many people in the streets, they would like to have a selfie with me, etc., and I can't imagine to refuse them for not put in danger democracy in Armenia and to make selfies, etc.
But it goes a little bit beyond that. That there's this image of
you know, I don't.
Evil.
I'm not agree with you, because it's. I think that you will see that nothing wrong in Armenia in terms of democracy, rule of law, and transparency will happen. It's clear for me, because you know I'm not for you. Maybe I'm a new person in international policy, but I'm not new person in Armenia. I was working as a journalist and as a chief redactor of most popular Armenian newspaper, and I was working as a journalist from 1991, and I don't know why these things happen, but it's definitely it isn't organized or policy, etc., and there is no any danger for democracy in Armenia. I can guarantee that. And you can, if I'm not mistaken, today we have already the evaluation of international observers of of our elections, and there never been any assessment like that or near of that within our history. It is real democracy in Armenia, and I don't think it's compulsory condition for democracy that society should hate prime minister of, and it isn't compulsory for democracy. If people will decide that I should leave, and they will have that opportunity through democracy, through freedom of speech, through the transparency, etc., I will leave government. There is no doubt about that. And to be honest, it's my not dream, but it's my goal to fulfill my political mission and go to write some books. And it is it's dream, but it isn't dream for next month, but maybe for maybe.
Just two short questions, please.
Talking about time, while we're on it, you have the mandate for 5 years. Where do you want to see Armenia in 5 years' time, if we're all hopefully here covering the next elections? Where do you want to see Armenia in 5 years' time?
I want to see Armenia with the strong economy. I want to see Armenia as a industrial country, fast developing industrial and technological country, with very low level of poverty and very low level of unemployment, and of course it should be really democratic country with strong democratic institutions, and with the free speech, free internet, and the free press, and free political environment, and of course with rule of law. And it is very important also for our country to have really independent judiciary, because unfortunately within our history we have big troubles with judiciary, because our judiciary always have been dependent from government. And I can assure you that now our courts and judiciary is real independent from government. But unfortunately, I'm not sure that judiciary is independent from previous government and from previous corrupt system. And we should do something about that, and to guarantee real independence of judiciary, because it isn't possible to have rule of law without independent judiciary. And last question. What? Karabakh, of course, on top of list, and because it is a matter of international agenda, and we hope to reach solution of Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, and we are standing strongly for peaceful solution of that conflict, but we want to make sure that it's impossible any solution for that conflict without the recognition of the right of self-determination of the people of Nagorno-Karabakh. Thank you. And last question, please.
Jose, please.
I will ask two straightforward questions with straightforward answers, I think. You say you don't like to being called a liberal. You say you are not a centrist as well. You don't feel like a social democrat. You didn't elaborate on his questions about your thoughts on the health system or the education system. I'm going to try to ask the same question in a different way.
I didn't answer any question.
No.
Yeah? No?
No.
No?
Well, but I'll try.
Maybe.
But I'll try to ask the same question in a different way. Name us one or two international leaders from the present or from the past whose politics you admire. And second question, Do you have any idea of how many female ministers you will have in your cabinet?
Yeah, I can say that for me, I admire of activity Nelson Mandela. I can say the same about Václav Havel. I can say the same about Lech Walesa. And it is actually the circle of politicians that I can consider as a role model. To be honest, for me, also very important person, very interesting person, also Ernesto Che Guevara. But as you know, I refuse any violence in the political activity. But I respect Ernesto Che Guevara. Why? Because he left government for continuing his revolutionary activity, and it's not very easy to leave an office of high official and to go to the forests as a rebel and as a revolutionary, and to continue his mission with bad health and with bad condition. And it is something that can do only very strong and a person with the strong ideology and with strong belief, and I respect very much Ernesto Che Guevara. Your next question was? It's very important question for me, because the Armenian women were very important participants of our revolution, and we've never had such active involvement in the political life before our revolution, and it is our very important goal to involve more and more women into government, into political life, and I hope that we will be able to increase the involvement of women in government, in the parliament, and in the political life in general. What?
You also didn't answer the question. If you have in mind how many female ministers do you have in mind for your cabinet?
Now I can't say because we have it's depend from some very soft factors, but I can say that if there will be two candidates for any post, and men and women, I will appoint women definitely.
Good evening, Mr. Pashinyan. I have two brief questions, and hopefully you could give me brief answers. Firstly, a topic which has been raised during the election debates is the rights of LGBT people in Armenia. I'm not just talking about rights before the law, but whether the government has a proactive strategy to combat hate speech and incitement to violence against LGBT people, such as, for example, the case that happened in Syunik, I believe in September, when some activists were assaulted. Secondly, of course, you've said a lot about, as a journalist yourself, former journalist, you've spoken a lot about the importance of a free media in the new democratic Armenia you want to build. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe your wife is also editor of Հայկական Ժամանակ, which is one of the leading newspapers in the country. It has been suggested that this might represent a conflict of interest. What would you say to that? Thank you.
If you would read this newspaper, and you will see how many ugly articles they are publishing about our government, and it is a fact you can see and spot. It's there is no any conflict of interests, because we really, our newspaper have never had any restriction in terms of the expression and freedom of speech, etc., etc. It's kind of a very strong tradition in the Հայկական Ժամանակ newspaper, and actually it doesn't matter if my wife is chief editor or not, because our family is owner of that newspaper, and there is no big differences if she is or not chief editor of that newspaper. Which concerns to the LGBT community, sometime any attempt to, it can seem to protect the rights of these people, of this community, that increase the scale of hate speech in our society. Our society is very traditional society, and I think that it is according to the interests of even of LGBT society not to push very hard this topic in our society, because I don't think that it is urgent topic for our society. We have many other very important topic, and it isn't priority in our society, and sometimes, unfortunately, this topic it seems to be put in our social life from outside, and I think sometime I have suspicion that this topic is being used for some geopolitical games, to be honest, and I'm not going to be involved in this kind of geopolitical games. But of course, we are going to guarantee rule of law in Armenia, and according to our constitution, our citizens, all citizens are equal before the law and before the constitution. Thank you.
Thank you.